All right, guys. Welcome to the Aftermath Podcast. It was brought to you by Renzo Gracie Clarksville, hosted by myself, James the Habanero Hoskins. Today, I have the pleasure of being in the company of Mr. Calvin Gale, Professor Andrew Hansen, who's been here with us multiple times, and the new European champion, Luke Bacchus. All right. Hold up, I gotta say all this. Don't forget to follow the Aftermath at aftermathpod.com and on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube at aftermathpod. Be sure to like, review, and follow us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. All right, I'm going to say that again. At some point in time, I will remember it. No, I won't. All right, so we're going to jump into this one. We already kind of got started. Actually, we're going to start at this end of the table. Introduce yourself, tell them how you get into Jiu-Jitsu, how you got here, and then we're going to get into some other stuff.
Kind of full story? Okay. I'm Luke Bacchus. I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu with the gi for about 2 years now. I started initially grappling in my early 20s. I lived in Washington State. I was active duty Army. Got into MMA, did that for 3 or 4 years or so, and then stopped cold turkey, got injured, started family, work got involved pretty heavily, so stopped that completely for about 8 years cold turkey, and then a friend of a friend brought me in here when we were at the old location. And then put on the gi for the first time and haven't, been doing it every day since basically 2 years from 2 years ago. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah,
we're gonna come back to that in a moment. Mr. Gale, tell us about yourself, how you got here, and keep it short though.
Keep it short.
Yeah.
All right, quick and easy. I came here because I was tired, really tired of being what I was, and you want to kind of discover yourself. And this was one of the best places I've seen. They had the biggest area, have my big body up in here. And then you guys, when I came through the door, was just amazing. But really, I came to do Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, I've always loved it, but I never really focused on it. So I came here more for health reasons, try to get healthy, get back in shape, get back in that, and wound up just falling in love with the mat. And here I am. The premier white belt that, Renzo Gracie Clarksville. Won't you all know that I am the one.
Self-proclaimed.
So whatever, Luke. I passed your card, Luke. I passed your card, Luke.
No.
I remember my first beer.
Cheers to that. Professor Andrew.
Yes, sir.
We both introduced ourselves before, but once again, tell them a little bit about yourself, how we got here, association with these guys, and go.
Oh, goodness. Again, I've been training Jiu-Jitsu the better part of 16 years now. I was a high school wrestler, turned to mixed martial arts in my early adulthood, decided that getting punched in the head, talking to your children with black eyes and busted face wasn't the way to go.
Hey, hon, let me read you a
again, longevity versus pay. MMA didn't sell for me, but I started training the gi seriously. Probably about 2015 is when I really put in about 5-6 days a week since. So we're up to 8 years of that. Should probably take a day off soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, became a head instructor here a little over a year ago. I've been teaching here about a year and a half. Love the program. Enormous amount of talent already was here. I just felt that was a good ingredient and mix as far as what I brought to the sport perspective, as well as the self-defense. And again, most people come through the door for no reason, involving competition, but at the end of the day, I almost get them all to, because competition has so much value in people, really finding out who they really are and facilitating growth at a much more rapid rate than just the average hobbyist does. So I'm very passionate about what I do. I love teaching Jiu-Jitsu. I don't even consider it work, so I wake up every day and get to smile as I walk through the door and do what I love.
See, that's what's up. And myself, like I said, a little bit older, my background is predominantly in striking. I started with boxing. I've done taekwondo, done some karate. Also have a cousin. What's up, cousin Jackie? He's a Sifu who actually got me into Kung Fu. I actually use a lot of those techniques in Jiu-Jitsu, which is kind of crazy. I started training seriously when I was 42 years old. Been doing it now for 12 years. Somehow along the road, they went ahead and gave me a black belt. but you show up long enough, and I guess they'll reward you. So that's kind of where I am. Very passionate about it. Love the students that we have here at Renzo Gracie at Clarksville. We'll tell you that if you're in this area and you're looking for a good school, a good place to come and train, I can't think of a better place to come. You've got these guys. You got great instruction between Professor Andrew, Professor Z, myself, the exceptional core of purple, brown, and other black belts that we have here.
White belts too. White belts are pretty cool.
And our premier white belts. Well, I'm glad you tapped on it because I want to talk about it. A lot of people don't understand. We're a white belt factory.
Yes.
You don't have a school unless you're producing white belts. You got to get the white belts out there. You got to grow your white belts up into something. A lot of schools run around trying to find, and I think we'll talk about that later. If you're trying to recycle upper belts, you're not really growing your school. All you're doing is pulling one person from one school or even 4 people from one school to go somewhere else. You need upper belts, but your school to grow should be a white belt factory. You have to have a place that's inviting.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
the person that comes in, no matter their size, their ethnicity, their background, will come in and feel welcome, like there's a place where they can learn, train, and grow.
Well, see, that's one of the big things, because when I came here, it wasn't full of muscle heads that, I'm going to grab this white belt and choke them out and show them. It wasn't like that. Nobody wants to be intimidated. I don't want you to beat me up every single day without me learning anything. If I feel like I'm just getting beat up, then I'm going to just wait for you outside to throw these hands, and then we make it even. You know what I mean? But it's just like, when you come here and, everything feels like an instruction. And at the end, like you said, you talk us into competing because my big ass was not doing that. Mm-hmm. No, but I did. Mm-hmm. And of course, I picked IBJJF to be my first one. That was crazy. But when you got that support and you feel like your whole team's there, you feel like if you don't compete, like, what am I doing here then? When you feel like that, then you're in the right place. That's the bottom line.
Well, cool. And since we're talking about competition and the team, we're going to highlight these 2 members of our team who recently returned for the Europeans in Paris. All right, where young Luke over there took double gold. He took gold in his division and took gold in overall. Professor went and represented the school. Now, and we say this, but I don't think people really understand. As a black belt, the level of competition is intense. But when you get into the masters divisions, you're looking at, how long you say you've been training?
About 16 years.
All right, so he's literally competing against other black belts who may have been a black belt competing at that same level for anywhere from 7 years and above, right? And a lot of people don't think about that. Like, I'm Master 5. Hush, watch your mouth. All right? In my division,
talk to me nice.
In my division, most of the people I'm facing have been black belts for as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu. I'm talking about as a black belt, not just competing. So the black belt division is a little bit different. Not saying all the other divisions aren't tough, but that black belt division, you working, all right? So I want to commend these guys. If you guys get a chance, tell them congratulations on their feats. But now I'd like for you guys to tell us a little bit about the experience at the Europeans, who you saw, what you saw, how you felt. Then we'll talk about a little bit about the preparation for that.
Me first? Okay. Overall experience was awesome. I just like the IBJJF kind of atmosphere as a whole. It's kind of cool in that you can predict what the event's going to be like because you've been to other events. So, I mean, the stress is relieved when there's some predictability involved there. It was long. The whole event was, it was basically Sunday to Sunday. So the event was super long.
Wow.
My division basically took the entire day to go through, and they kind of run through each belt, through each day. But everybody's good. Like, no one travels from around the world because they think they're going to lose.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So everybody's really good.
Exactly.
One thing that's cool, I was thinking about this on the way here too in the car, and that one thing that's cool about IBJJF probably specifically is that, when you're bracketed, not so much probably in the lower belts, but probably for sure in the brown and black belts, is that in most other sports, like if you played football and you're maybe in college, like you couldn't play against Tom Brady or some of these other professional athletes, but in IBJJF, you don't know who you're necessarily going to be bracketed against. Someone super high level, someone in the first competition, or someone kind of in between. So that's cool to see, watching the event unfold and watch the brackets, and you got, superstars that you watch every day on the internet or on your phone or on TV versus some no-name guy, but you don't know who that no-name guy is. They could be really good, and it's just cool to kind of watch that, flesh out. So cool. That's my experience of the event.
You want to talk about that part?
This was my second European event. I actually went in 2019 when I was brown belt as well. And I fought the same guy in my first match that I beat in 2019. So that gave me a good level of like Luke was saying, confidence and comfort, you know, going in with that anxiety of not knowing who you're going to draw and having an opponent that you had to win over. But then I'll say, like, the spectrum of skill between this European event and 2019 has grown exponentially. Like, there's so many of these juvenile blue belts out there that are just wizards. Like, me and Luke were literally joking and talking about it. Could I beat that guy is the question. Like, well, in a sport setting, or Kolabate, these kids that are just on the mat 8, 10, and 12 years before they even get the blue belt. They're just so good. And the level of black belts, like guys like Mason Fowler and Tynan Dalper out there just doing crazy, insane things. It's scary. I can understand, like I posted about it last weekend, you know, I think black belts don't like to compete because you're going to lose, right? You are going to lose. Like, even Leandro Lowe lost 20, 30, 40 matches in his career, you know? We all see these guys and their success, but they get beat out in the first round just as often as they win gold. It's a very high-level thing. So I think it's important, like, not only in the local scene, but at the international level that, you know, black belts continue to set that example for their students and show up and put it on the line regardless of who you draw in your bracket. It's another thing I see too at the black belt level is more times than not, my first match doesn't show up. I've been iced over in the bullpen like 3 times at major events, which is awful. You warm up, you get hot, you're ready to go, and then you're standing down there and some dude from, you know, Brazil doesn't even show up. Doesn't email in, they don't pull him from the bracket, so you have no idea, and you're hot and cold, and then you come out, your next guy walks in fresh after 3 minutes, and they runs through you from adrenaline dump, you know? So it's a tough experience. I just wish there was, you know, accountability and the same level of respect from the black belts to go out and compete and show up and put on the line that all the colored belts exhibit. So, you know, that's a challenge I'm issuing here on the podcast and will in person to anyone, you know, like, get out there and stop hiding behind your belt, you know? Put it on the line for sure.
The cool part about hearing you describe the experience as a black belt going out there is weird because it's almost the exact same experience as a white belt.
Yeah.
Because as a white belt, you know, for me getting in that IBJJF, it was unreal. It was insane from mentally. Because I'm thinking like, okay, he might be a white belt, but is this dude going to kick my ass and then get his blue on the podium? Yeah. Like, I have no idea what level white belt this dude is. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But it goes the other way around. You know, he might be standing in the second place spot. I might have won, but he still gets his blue belt on the podium. So it's like you don't know exactly who you're, like you said, you know, you don't know who you're going up against. It's just there. This is how much you weigh. That's the color of your belt. Now let's see what you got. And that's just it. It doesn't matter anything else. So the nerve, yeah, it's a hell of an experience. It's
even as a black belt competitor, like, the same level of nerves exist. I've wrestled hundreds of matches. I've been in 17 mixed martial arts fights. I still get nervous as shit before tournaments. That doesn't end. Anyone who thinks that's some sign that you shouldn't compete or whatever, you're wrong. That's your body's sympathetic nervous response to the unknown. Like, everybody experiences that. I did not sleep the night before I got on the mat. I woke up at 12:30 and didn't go back to bed. I messaged Luke like, nope, ain't getting sleep tonight. I'm going to venue. I performed just fine. My body felt good. That was me being alert and aware of, like, the reality is, like, I'm stepping on a mat in an international stage, going against some of the best grapplers alive at my age and weight.
That's amazing.
You know, like, being afraid is perfectly natural and perfectly fine. Being comfortable with avoiding that is not. So that's where I'm sitting here right now saying at the black belt level, I see that at the local tournaments, internationals, people not showing up, pulling out of divisions for fear. I think anxiety and fear are the biggest reasons, and that's a terrible baseline and example to set for your students. 100%.
I'll add another one in there, ego. Like, there are a lot of black belts who don't want to lose in front of their students, which to me is the wrong, we say what? Tap early, tap often, right? Yeah. So if I'm telling you tap early, tap often, but I'm not willing to take a match because I don't want you to see me tap early or often, what am I? Yeah, exactly. You're full of it. What am I saying? So if you're not willing to get out there, and I think ego also plays. There's some black belts who won't go because they don't want to lose in front of their students. your student needs to see you lose, right? Kind of like you said, not, you know, intimidating, but what we do in here to you, it's good to know that there's another level. That's what actually got me into jiu-jitsu, understanding that there are levels to this game and watching how a small Professor Braga, I watched him, little guy, just terminate a whole bunch of bigger guys and younger guys, and I was like, okay, that's that thing that I want to learn. That speaks to me right there, because my first experience was just in a room with a bunch of, as he had said before, a bunch of big, strong guys who were just slinging each other around. I'm like,
yeah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, there's no art there. That's just, this is modified wrestling. Okay, I got that.
Yeah.
But then when you see that, and then you can see that skill set, that's a whole nother level.
Like the first time I saw jiu-jitsu actually, like when it really amazed me, believe it or not, was when I think was it Renzo Gracie fought Chemo.
Yeah, that was.
I could not.
80-pound weight difference.
Dude, Chemo came out there jacked, and I was like, oh man, he's about to beat the shit out of Gracie. He's about to, and then when he got it, when you threw him on his back, it seemed like he was ready for. He was like, come on, and I'm thinking like, dude, get the fuck up. Like he's gonna, don't let him get on you. As soon as he came close, it was done. He grabbed him up, and then he's got Chemo's hair. And remember that? He had his hair.
I forgot that was legal.
And he was like, I was like, holy
what a grip.
He choked him.
Dude, he gripped his, he choked him out, flipped him over. That was it. And I at that point, I was like, damn, he didn't throw one punch. Ever. I've never seen a Gracie fight. He threw a punch. It was always this. He would always
open hand,
just get him off enough to grab a hold of something, and it was done. And then when Frank Shamrock, I don't know who he was fighting, but that's when I saw wrestling coming to some really crazy shit. When he did a double leg takedown on somebody. He scooped, both his knees touched the mat, came up, I was like, this is insane. Who moves like this? They're not throwing any punches, and they're causing major damage. I like that. Tank Abbott, oh my God.
Yeah, when he scooped Tank up and slammed him on his back, Tank rattled.
I think that was the one. I think that's the one.
That'll take the wind out of your sails for a big man.
He rattled the cage.
Up and down, you know, it's no fun.
That's like, you know, so it's such a wide range of sport, and the thing I like about it is you can't say like when you said, you know, a black person's always learning still.
100%.
And I see it because not every move is for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Your legs are not as long as mine. Your stomach ain't as big as mine. So you can't. You're not gonna get in the mount position on me. Like that don't make no sense if your knees ain't touching the floor. You know, so the fact that you can adapt it, it's ever changing. Jiu-jitsu does not stay the same. It's ever changing. There's, like you guys say, there's an app for it every time. Yeah. If you can't do it, and to be an instructor, you got to be aware of that, because you got to know, hey, he can do the arm bar, but he can't get his leg up like that. So you got to show him how to do. So you got to be. It's just ever changing. It doesn't stop, and that's why I love it.
There's a lot of modifications.
Yeah, it just got to be modified every time you do it. It's got to be something new. So,
which takes us as a segue into preparation. All right, let's talk prep, not just mental prep, physical prep. What's your prep like for a competition? What's the process?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in one, being super critical of your preparation, and then the routine of it, keeping it the same every single time. But I don't think I think there's like phases to prep. If say you want to compete in 8 weeks, there's like the conditioning phase of the prep where, you know, you're getting your body in shape, you're developing a game plan, you are like fine-tuning things that you're already doing well, maybe fixing some things that you don't, and that could take weeks or months. So when some people think of prep, they're probably just thinking like that day of or morning. I don't think of it like that. I think of it as like a huge, you know, a long phased-out plan. And then you get closer, and then you start to look at the week of, and if you think about weight, that's one thing you have to think about. I don't like to think about weight, so I'm always a little underweight, so I just take that totally out of the equation. The less things you can think about, the better, I think, is always good.
Yeah.
Less is more there. And then the day of, obviously, I like to wake up, eat the same thing, do the same warm-up, like pre-warm-up, get there, wear the same clothes, listen to the same music, or not. I don't really. I listen to, like, I listen to like songs without words, like repetitive, same tempo kind of songs. That's why I don't think about much of anything. So when I go out there, I'm not, my brain's not clouded, but big on the routine from start to finish. And then 2, part of when you're saying mental prep, I think it's super important that you know what that means. And like Professor Andrew was saying, it's normal to be fearful or have performance anxiety or things like that. But I think there was an old Mike Tyson quote where he would say that he's terrified but supremely confident.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to train like you're afraid of your opponent. But that morning when you wake up, there should be a switch saying that there's not a person on the planet that could beat you. And then you have to develop that switch on your own, however that looks for you. And that's kind of what's worked for me is that day. And Coach Andrew jokes on like how I look and feel and act that day because it is a little different. And I try to feel that same way every time. And you feel kind of invincible if you can flip that switch the right way. So that when I think of prep, that's what I think of.
All right, I like that. Yeah. I like that you take the Einstein approach. That was the way he did his day. He wore the same clothes, ate the same meals.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what Einstein did, which he said, I want to use my brain for thinking. I shouldn't think about what I'm eating. I shouldn't think about what I'm wearing. So he wore the same stuff and he ate the same things. He made it routine. That way, he's like you said, he's not focusing. He wouldn't waste mental energy on an outfit. He put his brain to work on solving the problem.
There you
right?
go.
And that's what we say jiu-jitsu is. So if you didn't know that, that's
a
great way to look at it. I didn't know you did that. That's actually pretty.
It's a discipline
insightful.
thing. It's a discipline thing because they say motivation fades, but discipline is consistent. So you can be motivated like, I gotta go to the gym instead of I need to get in there.
Right.
I gotta get in there. That's where it is. So. Motivation will fade away, but being consistent is what,
Consistency is key.
It's the key. It's, discipline. You just got to have it in you.
So I'll say, like, definitely being in the same cities as Luke most of the year, he definitely is a creature of habit. So that's a lot of highly successful people have that approach where they're, it's just a routine to them. They get it down to this, fine science, and then it's just producing results after that. I'm a little less cerebral on my approach. I'll be square, like between managing academy duties, managing the program. I have 3 children as well.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the mat 3 times a day most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like being able to put my training in such a regimen that he does. I don't really have the same power of choice. 2 people come to a wrestling practice, half the time I have to hop in and wrestle with them. So I can't always pick and choose when I'm training or how I'm doing that. So I just try and do the best I can because my priority still, even as a competitor, and I'll say this, like a lot of coaches take the competitor first, teacher second. I don't. I'm very much a teacher first, especially in a program this large and a competition team this large.
Absolutely.
It has to be my priority. It'd be ludicrous to do any less because, the people that are newer to this experience definitely need me to lean on and how the hell to deal with the anxiety and the preparation and things like that. But yeah, I just, I've been doing jiu-jitsu so long, it's just jiu-jitsu to me, so I'll show up and compete. I will say this, like, Luke helped me a lot with this camp, being more accountable of, like, my diet and sleep habits and alcohol. I dumped it. So, like, I didn't cut any weight for the first time ever in an IBJJF event. I woke up on weight, having breakfast every single day of the week.
Oh, wow.
So that was nice, probably added to, like, me not blowing out because I was tired too from not sleeping. So I performed very well. My body felt very good. So I'm definitely going to continue to do that.
How did that help you mentally though?
That gave me a good edge because like it's almost an anxious feeling. Like I woke up, or should say, went to the venue with anxiety because I usually have, I'm 3-4 pounds over. Like I'm sweating that out day of. Then hopping into the bullpen, full sweat, ready to go, and like. It's almost like you're being carried to it where he's able to like mentally focus and zoom on the match. I'm always fighting a whole ass other battle.
You have 2 fights.
Before I ever even get to the thing. And this time I didn't have that problem. My first match, I felt like I was floating along. It was a flow roll. Like it just felt really good and comfortable. Like it was nice to not have to like, worry about zapping all that water out of me before I hopped on the mat. So I'll definitely continue to be more diligent about like the things I put in my body year round really, but most specifically when I'm doing tournaments and things like that.
Can I add something else?
Yeah.
I forgot to is before Jordan Burroughs was probably the American GOAT, there was John Smith, right?
Yeah.
And he mentioned a couple times, I listened to him say something where, talking about the mental prep, that he would do stuff may have not have been the most logical or even like the most practical, but that gave him a mental edge. So he would, in addition to his daily workouts, he would wake up on the Russian time schedule and do a workout as they were working out.
Yeah.
And it may have not have been anything super intense, but as he was doing it, he would think, they're not working out when I'm working out, but I'm working out when they are. And so with those kind of mental edges, like I might have a piece of equipment that I think no one else has, or I'll do like isocompression every day where maybe not everybody's doing it. And so in the back of my mind, when it comes competition day, I know I'm banking on, I know for a fact that most likely I did more than what my opponent did, and that gives me, I think, a big mental edge.
You know what I do to that effect? And this may sound funny to you guys, but it's the truth. I said they don't have a Luke, they don't have Andrew. My training partners, the guys here in this gym. When I'm training with you guys, my outlook is they don't have an Andrew. They don't have someone that can put this kind of pressure on me. If I can weather this storm, you're not going to bring anything that I can't can't escape. Luke's young and strong. If I can keep him from getting both grips, right? Just you can't get both hands. Then I know this other guy isn't going to be able to get both his hands on me. So I actually look at the talent, like we all alluded to and spoke about. The talent that we have here is how I also use that. Like you said, tools. We got a good solid 40, but there's over 300 of them that's in here that for different reasons I'll train with Justice Musa. If I can pass Musa's guard, you know, and for those you don't know, the Musa's 8 feet. No, he's
Bigfoot. He's a real life Bigfoot.
7'9".
He is real. Cited in Renzo Gracie Clarksville.
African Sasquatch. He's not listening to the podcast. If so, we love you. No,
I didn't say nothing, Musa. I didn't say nothing.
I did.
But seriously, when I pass Musa's guard, I'm like, check. Like little things like that, and I feel like, okay, I'm getting better. I'm feeling better. Like I said, they were messing with me. I'm 54. Like, I don't mind saying I'm an older guy and I lost some weight, so I had to change my game up. And that was a hard lesson when you're used to being heavy and being able to just smash, and then people are picking you up. And I was rolling with LaTanya today. I was on her back, and she just stood up with me. You talking about I swear to God, you talking about a shot to your ego? She just stood up, and she said, oh, baby, you got to get off me. I'm like,
put me down. Put me down right now.
It's a leprechaun.
It's like, oh,
but you know what? To the other side of that, though, being a big dude and then coming in here and coming at the skill level that we have here, you realize real quick, smashing only goes so far, sir.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a great part of it too, because like some guys, it's not going to work. You know, I can crush all day, and they're just not. It's not happening. They're not giving it up. Like, you know, Travis or Calvin. You're just talking about Calvin.
Yeah.
I rolled with Calvin yesterday. You know, we got to roll with Calvin number 1, Calvin number 2. I'm still number 1, by the way, Cal. You know it. I tapped you. I'm saying you got yours.
Why not just Big and Little Calvin? No? Big and Little Calvin. No?
I'll see you tonight, Luke.
All right.
You didn't have to say that on the mic, Luke.
You coming to comp class?
Well, yeah.
I mean, you're taller. You're taller.
No, don't die, Luke. Don't try to fix it, Luke. All right.
Calvin might be 145 with a rock in his pocket.
No, Calvin's about 100 pounds. Don't give him no weight. Calvin's little, but Calvin is strong as hell. And it was trying to like move a brick mailbox. The kid was just stuck. So size, it goes both ways with the size and stuff. Like it plays out. It's just, you never know what's gonna happen. And you hit that match quick, fast. And I'm old. I'm old too. I'm just not as old as.
Watch it. Watch yourself.
Calvin, young Calvin.
All this ageism up in here. We're gonna handle it.
But I'm old.
Right?
Old, big, and little.
Yeah, maybe.
Old, big,
He's an old, big, and little Calvin.
Yo, you know what? You know.
Old big Calvin.
All right, Luke. I don't care. You got.
I mean, there's just other ways to classify 1 and 2. You know.
Oh, and so yeah, purple belt. So let's talk about promotions. Once again, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Luke.
Thank you.
Definitely earned that, buddy.
Thank you.
So with promotion, one, how did you feel about it?
I don't. No disrespect. I don't think about it much. Yeah, I don't think
Not
about it much.
disrespect.
Yeah. I know it's a cool deal. It's a cool ceremonial kind of thing, and I mean, it does mean a lot. It means a lot to Professor Andrew and you guys who've definitely helped and molded and all that. But I never thought about the stripes of the belt. Like, if I think about anything, it's like skill acquisition and just my personal progression, you know? So it's like
this guy.
So because I just right when I got here, having done MMA and stuff like that, there's no belt system there anyway. So I wasn't married to it from the beginning, you know.
Right.
And I would see some people, you know, I was a brand new white belt. I'd see some people kind of think about it and talk about it in a way to where it made them feel like they were anxious about it, or it just seemed to bother them. So I kind of made up my mind early that that wasn't the way to go. And if as long as I'm getting better, you know, my benchmark is if I can beat myself from 6 months ago, then I'm doing okay.
Yep.
And that's not going to matter if I'm white, blue, purple, brown. It doesn't, you know, to me it doesn't matter. But I guess I do think about it in terms of the competition aspect of it. You know, just the eventually the rule sets will change and stuff like that. So I do think about it in that way. But in terms of like my own self gratification, not much.
Awesome.
That's what's up.
You heard him say he doesn't think about it much. Like, so Luke, he told you he's been training 2 years. And if anybody who's trained jiu-jitsu a long time knows, that's really fast to earn a purple belt.
Indeed.
So when I met him a little over a year and a half ago, he was a pretty crispy new blue belt. Still rough around the edges, taking shots and getting caught in bad spots. You know, I literally, one day I remember him like smacking the mat because he's frustrated. I choked him like literally a dozen times with the same thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like that's the approach he has. Like I've watched him take losses in tournaments on purpose, trying to build skills he didn't have yet. And it's weird we had this A game, B game thing for the last year or so, and now I'm not sure what he's best at anymore because he took, you know, the guard and really just started to break it down piece by piece, one thing at a time. Really loves the lasso. He's got good grip strength and about 18 different ways to manipulate it from there.
Ridiculous.
It's really neat as a teacher to see that. And again, I've listened to him fend off like sandbagger comments from everybody and things like that. It's just not true. You know, like the reality is he earned that purple belt exactly when he was supposed to. Literally got, you know, I think 4 major medals. In gold medals inside of, you know, one year. That's insanity. Like it's time for him to definitely take the next step. But his approach is what made, and his diligence to improvement is what made that acquisition and skill development really easy for him because he really means it. He didn't care. He could care less if he was blue, brown, or black belt. He would still look at jiu-jitsu from the same angle that he does, and that's I need to develop skills. And that's, they won't lie. The belt can tell you this, that, and another about somebody, but the skills will tell you, you know, all about their jiu-jitsu overall. So, what an incredible guy. I'm very blessed to teach him, and look forward to him growing at that purple belt. Maybe learning some this year.
He's good. He's a good coach too, because when Luke taught he taught our class one night, and I give him crap about it, but he said one thing at the end of the class. He said, always train how you fight. Mm-hmm. Because your competitor is not going to slow roll you, period. And that stuck with me. I've been saying that ever since he said it. You know what I'm saying? So he's there. I give you props, Luke. I give it to you.
Appreciate it. If anything, it's for the people who may or worried about promotion, stuff like that. The main positive to me, especially if you cross train in different gyms or travel, because I travel quite a bit. And I remember I'd have a blue belt, and I'd go to one of these, even some of the big gyms, and I wouldn't get killed. You know, hold my own and do pretty well. And they would say, what gym do you train at? I'd say, Renzo Gracie Clarksville. And then the first thing they would say is, oh, they must have a pretty good program. So if anything, it's good. It's like a compliment to the gym if you're not like pushing promotion, you know, outside of the person's skill set. So if someone is anxious about, you know, progressing or something like that, they can rest easy thinking about that.
And I've had several students and even their parents get frustrated with me, like, because they think their kid's ready for something, or they have expectations, or want their kid to grow, or want to be challenged, or whatever the reason. Like, your instructor, if they're doing their job right, knows when and where you should wear the rank you're going to get. And they won't withhold it. There's no favorites. I'm only assessing your technical knowledge. As blue belts come along, it's more about replication and ability to escape bad position. But purple belt, more than anything else, if you took it to any other martial art, that's the standard of black belt time-wise most of the time, is that person needs to understand things at that level, and there's no rush. Like, some people maybe 2 years, which is few and far between, trust me. Like, It's not common that happens. Most of the time, that's a 4 to 6 year promotion.
Yep.
You know, and people don't want to develop the skills. They want that instant gratification or that ego push of knowing that they're wearing this belt, and at the end of that's irrelevant. You know, like I had the same problem. If anybody told you they didn't, they would probably be full of it. Like when I was a student, everybody wants that next belt. You want that gratification, realizing that you're getting better and improving, and it's irrelevant. You know, if the skills are there, you'll know. When I earned my black belt, everyone in all 22 of our academies at Yamasaki was like, finally, you know, like that's the way it is. Like everyone in the world will know.
That should be the tone, right? Like your partner's being like, well, hey, when are you gonna?
Yeah,
you
like
know,
hey, Neto, bro, come on. Or the other black belts are getting their ass kicked by you, and they're just like, you know, come on. No one has to explain it when it's real. When you've really met the measure, you know, everybody knows, and it's just time. So it's like, if I can give anybody advice, embrace jiu-jitsu from the same angle that Luke has, is worry about developing skills. Don't be afraid to lose. I've watched him do it on purpose, trying to get better at something. Like he could go out and wrestle a guy, pass his guard, and submit him. But he's like, I gotta get a better guard. Right. So literally, 4 out of 6 matches one
Shout
day.
out to Blake.
Yeah, it's really neat because now, you know, he improved faster, being willing to, you know, take those learning experiences. When you lose, you learn way more than from when you win. Yeah. You know, it's easy to go, I got the job done today, but what did I mess up? Because at black belt level, that's it. One mistake, you toast, especially in a 5-minute match.
Yes. That's crazy.
You need options.
It takes nothing.
To touch on that the other day, I think it was just yesterday, I was talking to Maddie, and I was telling her, well, I haven't rolled with Professor Andrew in a while. I need to roll with him because I need my next lesson. Because every time I roll with you, it always ends with, all right, this, and that. Like last time we rolled, I'm not allowed to roll from anywhere except off my back. Stay on your back, that's it. I don't want to see you anywhere but on your back. I've been on my back for months now.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with it. Yeah. Now I'm cool. I don't panic. I lost all that pressure's gone away. So now I'm like, well, I need a new lesson now. This is getting boring. So I can feel that because just the other day, and I'm not going to say no names, we had a new student here. I guess I didn't know he was from another school. He had on the classic blue with the white belt on. So we rolled together. I was smashing this dude. And not in a bad way, but, you know, just tap, you know, 3-5, you know, tap. I was like, okay, you know, keep rolling, you know, keep doing this, and we were good, you know. I get my butt kicked, too. And then he came back to class the other day, and he had a blue belt on. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? I was like, I was like, dude, I don't know if you can wear that. Like, he was like, oh, no, this is not my first. It was my first time here when you asked me if it was my first time.
Oh, he had like a loner deal?
Yeah. He was like, I'm from another school. I was like, oh. You know, so touch on what you said, it's a different program. You guys ain't teaching us what everybody else is teaching, and this ain't a pay to play. You know, you're going to earn your belt here.
And I push every student to do what's uncomfortable. So myself, I was 285 pounds when I first put on a gi and started training jiu-jitsu. Wow. That's a big guy for under 5'8", you know, like no business. Yeah. I was still really athletic, but I would just hold people on top and count, you know, just keeping them on their back and not letting them do anything to me a win for a long time. Like, I wasn't embracing the fact that I'm not getting better at jiu-jitsu. So now I know, especially with the big guys in this, is like, everybody loves being on top and being the heavy one. When gravity is on your side, jiu-jitsu is pretty easy.
Jiu-jitsu is pretty easy.
Right? Especially when the person under you is not that skilled at using the guard. Guess what? I'm going to make you go where you ain't comfortable, big boy. Man. On the back. Sweep them. Go back to your back. And now you're starting to learn to use the guard. It's the only way you're going to develop that. You cannot rely on what's comfortable to you. I don't care if you're a 130-pound female or a 300-pound man. I'm going to ask you to do what's uncomfortable because that's where you're going to get better. 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to spend 6 months on my back for that very reason. Right? And then I'm actually my own self, like look in the mirror, coaching myself. Work on your guard game. Work on these things. Work on your butterfly. Set your butt down. You're going to lose. Get smashed. Figure it out. Get up under them, distribute their weight, get back to your good spots. The other part, like I said, we're talking promotion, prep, and everything else. Personals, right? You have to have, everybody needs a coach. You have to have somebody you can work with, work on your game, be analytical. Once again, one of the reasons I love jiu-jitsu is the death of ego, to kill humility, all right, to be more humble. If you get into your mindset that you can't lose or won't lose, then you won't grow, right? So if you want to grow, you want to continue to move forward, like you said, you either attack your trouble spots or you go find the worst role for you in the room. This is mine right here. And you get up under them, and then you after every roll, I'm like, hey, how was it? What did I do? What do I need to work on? Where am I being sloppy, right? So
and from that aspect, like talking about personals and stuff like that, like, you know, a lot of people that ask me for private instruction, a lot of times want to go down these fancy rabbit holes of these things. Like at the highest level of jiu-jitsu, it is simple, fundamental techniques done expertly well that really work. I took lessons from my coach for nearly 2 years when I was there, and it was always the smallest things that I was missing. It wasn't the barambolos and all that fancy stuff everybody wants to see on YouTube. It's simplicities of passing and gripping and things like that. And like constantly working to refine those basics is what will separate, you know, average practitioners from great ones. I taught him all the time. Renzo Gracie choked everybody with the same shit. You know, like,
and they knew he was gonna do it.
Doesn't matter. He's like, hey, they knew he was gonna pass their guard. He was gonna mount them, and he was gonna hit them with a collar choke. And there wasn't a damn thing you could do to stop him because he was just the master of using his pressure to just smother you and choke you to death. You know, so taking private lessons again, it's whether it's a benefit for you or you think it isn't or it is. You know, what you should be looking for is, hey, refining those basics, constantly looking at sharpening the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu, because that's what I see at the highest level of black belt. When I roll with JT, that's what I experienced. He was doing basic shit to me. It was there's nothing hidden about it. Luke was even asking me, well, what was he doing that's different? Nothing, bro. It was literally perfect timing, perfect smash of your half guard. His pressure and ability to close space was just insane, and nothing fancy about it. You know, so like, if you're looking to, you know, be Keenan Cornelius and play this funky stuff, okay, that's great, but, you know, learn basics first.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's what messes a lot of people up is they get this idea in their head of jiu-jitsu being this, you know, spider guard rolling around, flying armbar, you know, masterful Jet Li movie, but it's really not. It's all about patience, control, and time.
Well, that's the great thing about it. It can be. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end goal.
Right.
Right?
Right.
There's a space, like, what was it? Freaking, going back to JT, you had Octavius, who is good at flying arm bars and triangles and all this other stuff. But then when he went, once again, different levels, he went with that with JT. He's like, oh, so you want me to smash you? Oh, yeah. And he did. Yeah. Brought him back to the ground, beat him with fundamentals, and actually pressure. Right? Just once again, and JT's maybe 175.
Yeah, he weighed about 180 after training.
Yeah, 180 after.
And with a beer in hand.
Exactly. And then just put pressure on him.
Yeah.
So this is a black belt tapping another high-level black belt with pressure. Right? So once again, it can be this, but much like the professor says, if you master this, there's no, I mean, you can do it to show off, but there's no need for it.
But even with the quote-unquote fancy stuff, I think the layman's going to think that the fancy stuff's like a magic trick. Like if I just learn this one move, it'll negate all the stuff I need to do. But all the people you just named, the Keenans and all those, I guarantee that it's 10,000 hours of their quote-unquote fancy stuff. So to them it's not fancy, it's fundamental because they spent so much time in that spot that it's become fundamental to them. So,
but Keenan, they developed those games after they learned fundamentals that already existed in jiu-jitsu. Like, if you're gonna come out and try and play lapel guard, you better understand basic guard retention first, because once that grip's gone, you know, now we're in the simplicities of retaining guard as opposed to
he can play that so well because he knows
exactly right. So he's and that's the thing Luke said is spot on, is they've spent thousands of hours. Like Mikey Musumeci drills like 12 hours a day. That's why when he goes out in tournament, it looks like he's drilling because that's all he does.
I've seen that
repetitive
kid go,
movement, man.
He went up against that huge. What was that guy?
Same black belt, same guy. Yeah. Same guy that was out there just laying on everybody
against Mason Fowler.
Dude, he freaking
couldn't pass Mikey's guard for anything.
Nothing. So he couldn't do nothing with him.
225-pound weight difference at least.
So ridiculous.
When he walked out on the mat, I was like, no, they're not going to let him do that. That's not. I thought this was like, what are they doing? This should be illegal.
Eats pizza and acai and then just trains 12 hours a day.
And he's happy to tell you that that's what he does.
It's like, what?
That's the life.
But once again, I can tell people, you don't do it till you get it right. You do it till you can't do it wrong, right? That's the amount of.
Yeah.
When someone asks me how many times do I need to rep it, I'm like
Millions.
What's it? 1,000 million.
They say 10,000 reps to mastery, but I don't think there's a such thing in jiu-jitsu. Like you're always refining techniques.
You can't. It always changes.
Always.
It always changes.
What's mainstream or valid in the game will shift every 5 years. Like it was the gi. You know, when I was a brown belt, now the no-gi leg lock game is the thing, and in 5 more years it'll change entirely again.
Probably easy way to think about it is probably like, you know, the levels of thinking about anything. Like when you learn a new subject, your goal is just to be able to like conceptualize it. Then it's to do it, and then probably one of the higher levels is to be able to teach it. Right. So because if you know it well enough, you know when someone goes on a computer, they can't explain it, and they go, "Let me drive," and they do, and they start to type and do things for you because they haven't conceptualized the idea like well enough yet. Right. With jiu-jitsu, I'm sure it's the same way in that if you know a technique so well, you can just talk someone through it in both positions without touching. So that's probably like something.
It's like the Harvey ball concept. You know what that is? So like a Harvey ball, let's say it's a Harvey ball and it's got spaces around it. So if you color in one space, that means you know the technique, you've seen it. You know. Color in second space and you're efficient at the technique. Color in 3 of them and you can show somebody else how to do the technique.
It sounds the exact same thing.
You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's the same concept with jiu-jitsu. The only thing that changes is you might have to change the technique itself to fit you know, the abilities of who you're teaching.
But you definitely have to be not a master, because that's, you know, who knows what that is, but a master of it to be able to do that for sure.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So you got to know. So like
that's any teacher's job. We educationally refer to that as accommodation and differentiation.
Right.
So whether I'm teaching someone with disabilities or a physical deficit, which we talk about in jiu-jitsu, where it's not necessarily like they have something wrong with them. It's just that like a big guy may not have the dexterity a small guy does, whereas me, guys, midget legs, I can't, you know, do a triangle to save my damn life type thing. But I still have to be able to teach it.
Exactly.
You know?
So that's what I would say the modifications come in. And that also, since we're here, is the reason why you're here is always telling people, you may never use this technique, but you need to learn it. And they're like, why? Because if you're on, Luke and I, if you're on the purple side of doing jiu-jitsu, at some point in time you're going to be an instructor or you're going to be a serious competitor. You're going to need to be able to either explain this to someone who likes this technique or explain it to someone who's going to face someone who uses that technique.
Yeah, or defend it.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to be offensively, defensively. I need to be able to show you how to construct this thing. I keep it simple. Like I tell the kids, I'm going to teach you how to tie your shoe, then I'm going to teach you how to untie your shoe. And they're like, why? I say, if you know how to do one, you need to know how to do the other.
And also I'll add, like, I saw a brilliant explanation Keenan Cornelius did on, like, you know, cult mentality in jiu-jitsu and why it exists. And a lot of that happens because you get a head professor who literally is just the one guy who does everything in their academy type scenario. And I think that's terrible for a lot of reasons. Like, once you hit purple belt, like, that is the instructor rank. Like, you should be able to teach at least white and blue belts fundamental things and continue that refining process as you get to brown and black. If your head instructor is not allowing you to do that, they're failing you. You know, it's our job as head black belts to build more coaches so that jiu-jitsu continues to grow. And I actually love the dynamic that all of the teaching accountability isn't on me. You know, I teach maybe 6 classes a week as the lead teacher. You know, we have, you know, well over 3 times that on the schedule. So I like to revolve the purple and brown belts because the last thing you want to do is get a black belt and then be thrown into a teaching role and you haven't had that experience, right? That's something that needs to be refined, just like it's a whole different thing than developing your own jiu-jitsu. Being able to impart it to someone else is a whole different animal altogether. So
much so. Yeah.
I think it's good because we got a lot of the brown belts. They also roll with us in class. So, excuse me, my throat's jacked up. But yeah, so they know us as students. They know us as classmates, and now they'll know us as instructors. So, I mean, I think it fits gives you a better form if you can gauge who can do what because you know.
That, and also people can't, like, fall in love with a certain coach or style.
Right.
Like, hey, Coach Andrew teaches this night, maybe. I might throw Luke in that night. You don't know who you're going to get show up to class and train.
Exactly.
Don't just pick and choose who you want to train with. Learn all the jiu-jitsu you can. Which, another thing, cross-training. If your instructor gives you any shit whatsoever about cross-training, find another gym.
Nugget.
Be square. That's a stone I'll throw at anybody in the universe because, especially as a competitor like him, dude, I can give him everything in the world. I don't know all of jiu-jitsu. That's ludicrous. I'm still fucking learning, you know? Like, the reality is I want Luke to go everywhere in the world to learn private instruction from every single person
back.
he can find. Exactly. Because then it comes back here.
Yeah.
Now he becomes that conduit of the knowledge, too.
Hell yeah.
For me, because I'm still learning, too. Just because I'm the black belt instructor does not mean I'm not learning jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
Every single day I learn something else, right? So when he comes back, I'm like, hey, what did Marcos Tinoco show you? He plays the lasso better than me. Like he's the best at it. Let's talk. Jamil Hill, what's he doing? You know, Victor Hugo, he's going to all these just world-class mega superstars in jiu-jitsu that are doing simple shit.
That's all it was. And to me, that's cross-training. You can mix cross-training and private lessons like under one category almost. And to me, that might be the most bang for buck, like opportunity cost. That might be one of the most underrated things about the sport. Because I was thinking back about Euros and all the things. I watched the matches, see what I did right, see what I did wrong. And half of the stuff was either from cross-training or private lessons, and the other half was from here. And maybe even more, maybe like a 60-40 split. Because if you're working on something, like you were mentioning, Marcos Tinoco and Jamil and those guys, I kind of, most of the privates, except I think Victor Hugo, we worked on something else, but most of it was the same thing. I was like, you're a master at this, show me what you do, and I just took one or two things and added it. But they were so sound, they were so technically sound and useful, and I could apply them right away. I was doing them over and over and over here, so, and in the competition too. So, you know, that 160 minutes is now, you could argue, is like 10% of my game, you know, versus training over 2 years. So 60 minutes in a 2-year span, I mean, how invaluable is that?
Exactly. Exponential, right?
Same value with tournaments. Like my coach has always said, hey, doing a tournament is worth like 4 months of training. They're like, what? And literally, you learn a lot about what your jiu-jitsu is worth. Like, it's easy to be comfortable with people you roll with every day. But when the adrenaline and the anxiety and that sleeplessness and the weight cutting and the reality of, hey, this person ain't your friend, and they're about to try and bend one of your joints the wrong way, shit's real. Right? That adds a whole different component to the experience than anything else, and you're never going to know how efficient you really are. Like that quote that says the average male is 4,000% less efficient in the physical confrontation than they think they are type scenario. Like, if I'm still nervous after 16 years of doing this, the guy that tells me he sees red, I almost have zero respect for.
Exactly.
Bullshit, you don't see red. The only red you're seeing is your blood pumping because you're nervous. Like, let's be square.
Bro, I see red and things happen. Yeah, you go to sleep.
Angry energy don't last.
The competition, my first time at Pans, the second match, I got smoked. The guy, I tried to wrestle. Before I could even give a chance to wrestle, he pulled guard and just smoked me, sweat me, choked me. And I was like, there's got to be something to that. And that's what started. That match specifically is what started kind of a whole different transformation. So you don't know what you're going to get. You might not get exposed to in here because your partner might not force you to, you know, play that certain way or whatever. So for sure, competition.
Yeah, because when I did my little IBJJF, I literally tapped. After I tapped, thinking, oh man, he's going to break my shoulder. When I was done, I was just walking around thinking like, he wasn't nowhere near gonna break my shoulder. I fucking panicked. You tapped because you panicked. You tapped because you were this tap before you should have tapped.
But at least you realize you panicked.
The reality of people that would admit that is slim to none. Like,
exactly.
Dude, that's the other thing too. I tell people, when you get in bad positions, like, relax a little bit. Like,
that's why
I was in Fort Campbell on a hot day in 2014, rolling with Lonnie Harris. 100 degrees in there, bro. I'm just spazzing, trying to get out. I nearly panicked. I tapped him to get off me. He's like, no. I'm like, bro, I'm literally gonna panic. Like,
you did that to me.
Reality.
Remember I said I can't breathe. You said yes, you can.
Pressure will cook you in here. Like, that's you know, jiu-jitsu is for this.
I swear, I'm telling you right now. I swear, if you're watching this, I want a rematch because I'm gonna kick your ass. Listen, I tapped because I panicked. When I felt him pushing my shoulder up, I immediately.
When is Nashville IBJJF?
We don't know yet.
Announced it yet.
Hurry up, IBJJF. Immediately lost myself.
Put a kids event on there too.
Two of them.
And I literally panicked, and I realized that afterwards because when you told me, yo, just get on your back, stay there, slow down, relax. I started to relax. I stopped thinking about pulling off some major technique.
Yeah, one thing
and started thinking about surviving. Let me survive this first. Let me go a whole 5-minute roll without getting tapped. How about that?
My 3 rules that I normally tell my students is 3 simple things. Can I breathe? Does it hurt? Where's the space? And they're like, why? Hey, they're on you. They're smashing you. First question, can I breathe? Yep, so that means you're not actually getting choked.
Yeah.
Does it hurt? Not yet. Could be soon. Where's the space? That's my door out. So Those 3 things. When I get attacked and I feel, and it happens, he'll tell you, it still happens at our level. Someone grabs us, you're a black belt or even above, you got this scowl and you're like, oh, then you have to just kind of tell yourself, hold up, freeze, think your way through, find the opening. There is a defense if I think my way through. Now, sometimes you can't. You get, you know, the wild cracker who will grab your arm and just, you know, before you know it.
Yeah, it comes on quick.
Yeah, and it comes on quick. So that's different. But with that space, you want to make sure you're there. A couple other things, like, and a lot of good stuff. The other thing about having the multiple instructors we talk about, and people like, well, I'm a cross-train. My first question is like, how many classes have you done in the facility? And they're like, what? Have you taken a class from Instructor Z? Have you had a class with Professor Andrew? Have you had a class with me? Have you had a class with JJ? Or have you had a class with Val? Have you done a one-on-one with Luke, one of the upper belts? And when they look at me and they say, no, only go to this class, I'm like, before you go spend money to go somewhere else, you have a whole bunch of different outlooks right here in the school. Now, I won't discourage you to go somewhere, but I will say, before you spend money, look within before you go without. Right? And that's just too easy to do. Especially with judo, wrestling, like all the different outlets where you can do to help improve your game that's in-house. So do that first before you go out. So that's one of the things I also want to share with people.
Yeah,
and then
it's a lot here, because to touch on that, the other day I was, not to cut you, I'm sorry. I was
go ahead.
talking to a guy, he was saying he wanted to see my sticker on the car. He's like, oh, you train there? Yeah. I was like, yeah. He was like, man, I would go there, but I want to box. I was like, we got boxing.
You're like, perfect.
And he was like, yeah. So and he was like, oh, you can see the look on his face, like, ah, shit. And I was like, yeah, we got boxing there. He was like, oh yeah. You know, I was into wrestling in college. I was like, yeah, we got wrestling too. So he was running out of shit to say. He was like, well, yeah, what about that Muay Thai? Yeah, we got Muay Thai too. We got all that, judo, all that. He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. Yeah, don't come with no excuses, because this is, if everything you need is under this roof right here. From top-notch instruction to just top-notch facility. So, you know, it's definitely the spot to be to get your train on for combat sports. So it's there.
So now you had started your story when we first started talking, Calvin, but why do you train?
I train because it gives me peace of mind. I know that sounds crazy. But I train because it helps me. I fight depression, so we'll put that out there. I'm always in my own head. And when I come here, it's like a release. Like I get to hang out. It's almost like hanging out with your friends when you're like 5 and you get to roll around the dirt, spray off with the hose, and go home, man. You know, there's no outside world. There's no phones ringing. There's no kids. There's no... You know, there's just nothing. It's just me, the mat, and my lesson. And it gets me through the day. It helps me push forward. It makes me a better person, to be honest. I mean, that's just me. It sounds corny, but that's me. You know, that's just really how I feel about it. And then you guys, like, you know, because when I came here, I was a mess, bro. I was a complete mess. I was in my head all day. And I've gotten better at my job, gotten better at home. So, I mean, that's why I train. I train because I love it.
Nice. Luke?
It's layered for sure. It's not corny what you said is true. It's layered for sure. For me, I think selfishly I need a competitive outlet. Like ever since I was a little kid, whether it might not even been sports, but it was something. And I feel like I'm fairly physical, so it's obviously it's a match made in heaven. So have a competitive outlet for sure. Mental health, 100%. Unfortunately, I just lost a good friend the other day to suicide, and I've known him for almost 15 years or so in the military, talk every day, and he was a very physical person throughout his whole career. He had some really nasty injuries his last few years, had several surgeries and everything else, and you can tell it like deflated him in a lot of different ways. And I've been thinking about it, and well, he couldn't have done it anyway because he's still recovering from neck stuff, but I always wonder if someone like him had just one more physical outlet, what would have happened, kind of thing. And that's probably true for hundreds of, thousands of people that are out there. So that for sure, mental health, like you said, it's my 2-hour escape for the day. No work, no stress, no nothing. I can just come in here and not think about anything other than the immediate problem that's in front of my face, which is someone strangling me. So that be a good example for my kids. That's another one. I want you know, them to see their dad as someone who's capable and mentally tough and all that. So there's that. Health, just general health. Like, I feel like I'm in better health now that I've been in a long, long time. You know, I did all kinds of sports, but for some reason the total concept of what jiu-jitsu needs from you, cardio, strength, mental awareness and everything, it's just like a good balance of health. So those things, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and to touch on that health thing again, I have a heart condition. I had a heart attack in 19.
Dang.
And I got hit by a car in 20, walking, trying to lose weight.
2019 or 19 years old?
No, 2019.
Okay.
And then I got hit by a car in 2020 while I was walking, trying to lose weight because I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I got jacked up shoulders and all that stuff. But since I've been training here, I've been back for my checkups. And my doctor was like, look, we're about ready to take you off your heart meds. Your heart's pumping better.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're doing better.
Praise report.
You know, my weight hasn't really gone down, but it hasn't gone up either.
But the internal side of your body is
the internal side of the body is good.
Yeah.
And I attribute that to being here, to pushing, to, you know, him, that knee on belly, it make you breathe a little heavy. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you work. And that's, they were the first ones I called when I left the doctor. Send them both messages like, yo, guys, this is,
look at that.
This is, look what's happening. And that's, you know, I'll give all that to jiu-jitsu. I give it to my family too. They all back me up and push me. My kids will literally slap some shit out of my hand like, you're not eating that. You know, but a lot of that is coming here and being pushed the right way. Not pushed to just be some kind of animal who's going to roll around. Being pushed like, you can do this.
Right. Well, like you said, you bring it home. So it's like in most other activities, let's say like just going to the gym and doing weight training, how committed are you to eating and sleeping right at home? Because the weights aren't going to beat you up when you see them the next day.
Right.
It's your workout's not going to be great, but there's nothing physically threatening about like cheating on your diet or something like that. So there's always that in the back of my mind too. Like, if I make bad decisions at home, sleep and food wise, how bad am I going to pay for it tomorrow? And so I just forego it and say I'm not going to do it. Right.
It's just it brings a lot to the table. It helps you here, everywhere. It's helped me. That's my own testimony, and I'll never stop. I've started and stopped so many times in my life. You know, I've taken probably, I bet you there's a lot of people that if they see this podcast, they can be like, that motherfucker came and took free lessons from me every time I posted free lessons.
Yeah.
You know, say I did it. I would jump from here to there because I just couldn't. You know, I had 6 kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was 20-something years old, 6 kids, a wife with 6 kids. That was no paying for classes. Is not happening. This is not happening.
Yeah.
You know, none of this is going to go down. So I jumped around, and I've never really focused, but I never found anywhere that made me want to focus.
Right.
It was either glorified daycare, everybody dropping their kids off and leaving, and come at the end of the month, I guarantee I'll give them a new belt type shit. You know, it's just like nobody wants to do that. You know, give me $40, I'll give you a new belt, and it's just like you don't learn
impersonal.
Yeah, it's just it was nonsense. So when you find somewhere that's like, I don't give a shit, I just want to put on the table. You can be a white belt till you're fucking not a white belt.
Yeah.
You keep coming. You know, that's the only way it's going to keep coming.
Yeah.
But you can throw all the money you want. Unless you buy your own belt, you can only wear it at your house. You know what I'm saying? You can't wear that here. So to me, this is real jiu-jitsu. This is real training. This is real combat sport. This is real school. This is, when I tell people how long I've been coming here, you know, I've been almost a year, I've been coming here. Like, they're like, you still got a white belt? Dude, in a year I was like, and I bet you couldn't roll with nobody in here. Yeah. Remember I made the joke during the inner city, our white belts are blue belts. Try me if you want to. Our white belts are blue belts. Our white belts in your school, blue belt. Get out of here. Period. I'm standing by that. I'll stand by that dollars to donuts. Our white belts in our school, blue belts in your school, I'll bet you. Meet me outside. That's just how it is. I'm calling it because we train different. We learn different. Nobody gets pushed. We don't do the whole nobody left behind. Yeah. No, we won't run and leave you back there, but we're not just going to drag you up here and throw a belt around your waist and let you have it. It don't work that way. Yeah. Earn it or just go home.
Yeah.
So
earn it or keep coming until you get it.
Right.
Ugh, why do I train? It's a long answer. You ready for that?
We can make 2 podcasts out of it.
You might need a second one for that.
We can edit. I ain't even got a mind yet, so yeah.
Man, short answer, because I need to, right? For both of the reasons you guys said, the mental health aspect and then the physical component. So I pride myself in being vulnerable with my students. Like, I let them know I failed probably more than they have, equally as much. I don't know if that's the reason God chose to put me in the position I'm in right now. But yeah, I probably had the most awful childhood you can think of. Like, I was a product of the American foster care system. 7 years I didn't see my mother. I didn't meet my father until I was 33 years old. Got bullied, beat up, mistreated. I was a very emotional kid by nature, so and small, believe it or not, when I was younger. So in low-income, impoverished areas, a lot of gang-ridden neighborhoods, I was mincemeat. You know, I got psychologically bullied a lot by a lot of people. Similar to George St. Pierre, you know, if you hear stories about his life, like, he didn't develop his skills out of anything but a necessity to survive. And for me, that's kind of where it came from for me. And for many years, you know, a lot of my personality and my mental health and emotional health was broken, bro. Like, I was a wreck. I was never really as successful in any sport I did because I lacked that mental component, that discipline, the fortitude, you know. I was really talented, really athletic, but I had no support. Like, when I go home, it was a war zone. My mother, very verbally abusive, condescending, traumatizingly so, to me and my siblings. So that messed with my ability to perform, especially at a sport level, for most of my life until I started mixed martial arts. And even then, I hadn't really faced a lot of the damage that I experienced as a kid. Now, as I'm older and I have my own children, you know, for me, the answer becomes equally simple as when it started, because I needed to. Now it's about accountability for me, right? Like, I decided that unlike most of the kids that came from where I did, I was going to put my best effort into being change in a stable place for people to go and learn and feel welcomed and fight those same battles that I have. All you guys feeling like you have that self-doubt, or, you know, you're inadequate, or you're battling weight issues, or whatever your problem is, I faced it. You know, the women who come in here victims of domestic and sexual abuse, I faced it. You know, it's for me, I take very seriously the power I have to affect change in the community and in these kids. You know, is the big reason when I came here, I don't ever see myself leaving. It's because not only do I need the people here symbiotically, you know, they need me in return. And for the first time in my life, I feel a level of love that I never experienced in my home as a kid. So for me, that's why I train. I get up every single day to help make these people better and to feel better. I'm an empath by nature. So if you ask any of y'all, I'll know when something's wrong with you. You'll walk in the door and I can tell. I literally am smashed with your auras and emotional energies. At the same time, that's very hard, especially with, you know, a lot of emotional people in the building, just like I am myself. I'm getting better at navigating that, and there's sometimes even I gotta take a break. But I do not take lightly the mantle of responsibility I've been given by James, and I feel like at the end of the day by God himself, you know, because to come from where I did and to be here, like, people don't choose this path in life unless they were meant to. So I feel like all that suffering, all that learning, all that failure led me here to help people through those same things. And I hope I can just give that back tenfold. So why I train is I need to. I love it. I love people. And that's what I want to give. You know, everyone who has a lack of self-esteem, I want to give you that. Whether you're a 10-year-old girl or a 35-year-old woman on the end of her divorce. Whether you're a 400-pound man who let his body go after 5 kids in a marriage, you know, I'm going to be here to hold you accountable. You can get mad at me, you can cuss at me. I want to see you live because your family needs you. I need you, you know. And if you come here, that's the level of love and appreciation you'll get no matter what color belt is on your waist. Every single student in this building matters to me. That's why I train.
Facts. That is all facts. All facts. Professor James, sir.
Transparency. So mine, once again, came to the sport at 42, and I think of this panel, Professor Andrew, you're the one who started as a teenager.
Yeah.
Everybody else
19.
came to this. Yeah, everyone else came to this as an adult.
Yep.
By nature, I'm a nurse. Left, same thing. Grew up in the PJs, in the projects. Poor. Always told what I couldn't do. But had a mother who always told me what I could do. Went through life with a chip on my shoulder. Best way to get me to do something, tell me I can't. Watch me prove you wrong. Good military career until, marriage, all that other stuff. Time to get out. Nurse by choice, trauma nurse, which are the best line of nursing. If you're gonna do it right. Still keep my nursing license, but I've always taken care of people. That's always been my nature. People came to me first as a first responder, whatever. You come to me, I got you. In a different generation. Like I said, I'm in my 50s. Grew up, my word is my bond. If I tell you I got you, I got you. I try to show, not tell. The people who have been around me long enough know I do, right? So it's not one of those, well, it was talk. No, if I told you we're going to do it, now it may take me a while to get there, but we'll get there, all right? And if I can't, then I'll be the first one to come tell you why. The way I ended up in jiu-jitsu was, like I said, I had a whole different business. Jiu-jitsu was a class. I wasn't interested. Got interested, fell in love with the sport. Did it because it was a hobby, but it was just a hobby for me. I didn't see the significance of it until we were going to close my first business and stop doing the class. Had 3 of the students come to me and be like, hey, you can't let this die. And I'm like, man, it's a class. We got 10 people. I ain't see any money in it. It's whatever. And they're like, you don't understand. Those 10 guys need this. You can't let this die. So, okay. Found a spot, kept it going. By the grace of God, and I'm so serious. Monday we had 10. Saturday we had 20. Oh, okay, cool. Within 3 months, we had 60. Once we had 60, we had to get a new building. Got a new building, it turned into 100 and something. Had some bad instructors and stuff went crazy. Business got wiped down. Started having some issues with my job and everything else with other people. And I'll be honest, I'm, once again, an old school guy. We didn't talk about our feelings. You didn't tell people what was going on. You took it on the chin and you did what you had to do.
Kept it moving.
There was only a couple of people who knew what I was going through in all these situations. Like, I'm paying, because if you don't know, our school is exception. Most jiu-jitsu schools don't make money. They're, you cover the rent, maybe pay the instructors. At this point, I was paying for the people to train. We weren't making money, but it looked good. Everybody thought we were doing stuff, but we weren't making money.
Right.
Now, you think about the fact that you have a corporate job, you're working all of those hours, still coming to the school, but you got to go home and tell your wife that your paycheck, or half of it, is paying for a school so other people can train.
Right.
Because you want them, with all the things you guys described, is like, I can't take that away from them. So it came to a point to try to figure out why we want to do this. And then the whole time, in my head, I'm like, why are you doing this? Right? Why are you doing this? You're making this sacrifice for what? And then I realized, like, kind of like he said, some people are blessed to know their paths, and some people don't even know when God is like, this is what you're doing.
Right.
Like, this, like, you wanted a ministry. You wanted to be someone that affects change.
Here's your pulpit, right?
Like, here it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but I wasn't seeing it. And I'll be honest, in my ego, I got mad because in the military, and Luke can attend to this, you help your soldiers find a path, and they go out and they start having success, right? Some of them end up doing the things you want. I wanted to be a PA. And I helped 7 people go to PA school, helped another guy become a doctor, helped some people go to flight school. And here I was running up the street as a nurse manager, which was good money. He, made good money, but I'm still coming here giving up half my check to keep a school going. So I'm like, what are you doing as a grown man? And then I look at the students and I listen to these things. This is how this podcast came to be. After a good open mat, when men we talk about why we do it. Let's get into the psychosocial. Every time you roll, you get a hug. Men need to be hugged 2 to 3 times a day, women. So if you aren't doing so, I'm saying this. No.
Not Luke.
Not Luke. Not Luke. He said, okay, maybe once. All right, but
for sure.
But they do. Men need hugs. A lot of times, if the man won't ask and the woman says, give me a hug, the guy will do it, but he gets more out of it than you do. But for those men who aren't getting them, We need hugs too. We need a way to get off physical aggression. You can come in here mad, you can come in here sad, you finish rolling, you feel better. You are able to get that physical touch and get that physical release. Right? So those are two psychosocial type things. Then after that is the vulnerability that all of us have displaying right now. After that thing, we can sit and talk. And in those times of listening to what these people were going through and listening to these men, and I'm like, James, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I needed it because growing up as a man, you don't talk about your feelings. You don't tell people what's going on. You take it on the chin. You put it on your back, James. You're strong enough. Put another thing on your back. Keep going.
Yeah.
And then to be able to finally sit down and somebody say, man, I can't carry this shit.
Yeah.
I tried to blow this place up 4 times. I'm not even not lying. It's for real. I tried to sabotage this place 4 times, and it just kept growing. So at the point, I had to admit that we're supposed to be here.
You're supposed to be here.
And you talk about having that outlet, like a kid like me growing up where I came from, like we talk about, you know, women being survivors of abuse and sexual abuse and things like that. Like, where does a man go to outlet that stuff?
Nowhere.
Where's our advocacy
No, we
groups?
have nothing.
Where are the support networks for those things? They don't exist.
Nope.
You know, like when, as a society, we tend to cater towards one direction when it comes to survival.
All the way down to body positivity.
And there are just as many broken men in this world as there are women. We need to have the same love and appreciation, and we need to have outlets for those things, you know, because I didn't have one either. You know, what do you do with the stuff in your head, you know, at the end of the day? Well, unless you got good friends to rely on and listen, you know, there's 16% of the country is a single father home. We don't talk about them. They're in a baby changing station in a men's bathroom half the time. Like, what does he do? How awkward is that? Like, we don't look at how men experience things in the real world. We don't care. We need to start. That's a big deficit in our society, and that takes men and women both to admit that and put their foot forward to make sure that, because hey, you know, he's losing friends. I've lost people to suicide. We've all have, and we're talking men in most of the time about that case.
We've got to start. I guess it starts with men like us who teach it to our kids. Like, it's okay to conversate. It's okay to say how you feel. Like my kids, I tell my kids I love them all the time. You know, when I get off the phone, my sons, I said, we're just taught, you know, you provide, you protect, and you put, you put food on the table. Put food on the table. You know what I'm saying? Like Chris Rock said it best. Men are only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Men are loved under the condition that we can provide something. So.
Yeah. So with that, this is what I provide. But inside of providing this is also what I get. Yeah. Right? And he said it. He and I talked because we rolled and I don't mind saying it. We're rolling, we're crying, we're wiping each other's tears off, laughing and trying to kick each other's ass. That's jiu-jitsu. If you want to know what jiu-jitsu is, that's jiu-jitsu. I lost 2 good friends of mine this week. One to suicide, one because of cancer. So when you're asking yourself as a man, if you don't have an outlet like we're blessed to have, there's a number. It's 988. 911 if it's an emergency, somebody's trying to hurt you. 988 if you're thinking about hurting yourself. You can call it or you can text it. And I'm putting this out there and I'm challenging every man that's in a leadership position. Talk to other men. If you're an academy owner and you hear this, talk to the people in your school. Because if you're not willing to have these conversations, if you're not willing to be transparent, then stop doing what you're doing. Right. I'm kind of like them. I will stand on that hill because I know who's with me. And I'll tell you, if you're not willing to talk to your students about some real shit, then get out of there. Don't stop being an instructor. Don't call yourself an instructor.
Facts.
All right? 988. Call it if you feel like you've got problems. Text it if you need some help. Okay? You can text if you don't want to talk. You can text and say, hey, anonymously, I've got this going on, I feel this way. They will respond. Okay? The number is 988. It's a suicide prevention, but you can also use it as an avenue to get some information. All right? If you don't open your mouth, you won't get help. Some people are under that position. They feel most people don't have time to help them. If we've got 90 minutes to roll, we've got 10 minutes to talk.
Facts.
Okay?
Love that.
All right.
I love that. We got to put that on the shirt. If you got 90 minutes to roll, you got 10 minutes to talk. I love that. I like that. And remember, you come up here and roll with us. Yeah. You got an issue, come up and roll. We'll roll with you.
Now we have to end this. I'm going to give everybody a moment to say something as we get out. Starting at that end.
Nope, appreciate you having me on. This is cool.
We can tell.
No, I hope it, you know what I mean.
That is Luke's. He's
bleep bloop.
He's extra excited right now.
It's kind of
what are the it's a weekly thing, right? Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so just do you have an idea of like guest wise and everything, like who you want to see in the future? Or like what's like the I guess the not guest list, but like what kind of like style of or kind of people are you looking to have in the future?
Let's see, he puts me on the spot. Look at this shit. I say goodbye and shit.
Right.
No, I mean
who's coming next?
So some of the people we will have next, we'll have Clay Mayfield on the show. We'll have my Professor Brian Marvin on the show. Gannon Lang. Every time we bring somebody in, we're gonna get them on the show, whether they like it or not. We got some things that are in the works. We're gonna have 3 special guests. I can't say who they are. We're just gonna get it going. But also from that, we'll also talk to the people who, once again, this was made for people. Just like I said, you finish that role, people are open. Let's now talk.
Yeah.
All right. And also, since he put it out there, if you're in the area or if you call in, if you want to be on the show, if you got a topic that we covered, or if you even want to go over some of the things we talked about today, get in touch with us. It's an open show, open mic. I'm more than willing to talk about anything. This is a lot of what we do. It's just good conversation.
Yeah, and you should start looking for us at competitions too, because we're going to start talking to you competitors after your matches and getting you guys in here, doing a little recap on your matches and your own journeys through jiu-jitsu. We want to bring jiu-jitsu to the front that it needs to be at, because it's been carrying a lot of combat sports for a long time, so let's talk about it.
No, that was it for me. I was just interested. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Great question.
I'll close with, I hear a lot of reasons. I won't use the word excuse, reasons for why people don't want to train or do something like this, whether it's money, I got to get in shape, yada, yada, yada. The reality is, like, once you come in and start putting in the work, the benefits far outweigh the cost, whether it's time, money. I can't think of a single activity I've done in my life that's provided me with more and made me the person that I am more than jiu-jitsu has, both from a mental, emotional, and physical health, on the wellness wheel, to, just how I just look at my life. In general, there's no place I'd rather be. So, again, shut down your reasons, take that leap of faith. Even as a black belt, when I go visit a new academy, I'm nervous as shit. So, you're gonna be nervous, all right? Like, you'll come in here, you'll be family right away. It's not a big deal. We won't do anything to you right away you're not uncomfortable with, and then eventually we'll start pushing those comforts.
Then we'll introduce you to Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry,
our boy Jerry,
the killer.
He's the one with the helmet hair.
Well, I could leave it with.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll switch these two out real quick. We're gonna keep this angle going.
Okay.
Right.
And then I just need you guys to do an outro.
Okay.
So
you got time to keep saying what you want to say. And then we'll do
I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I forgot what I was going to say. Well, I mean, I would say just for people that like you said, touch on that, keep pushing. Every time somebody says no, show them that you can, and discover who you are, man. Just discover who you are.
Cool. As far as the outro goes, once again, we're here. We've been here. We'll keep being here. We'll just keep that going. If you are in the area, if you want to come train, we do a free trial. We give you 3 free classes. Come in, get to work, figure out what you like or if you don't like, and we see if you're a good fit for us. And you're a good. If we're a good fit for you, then we'll make something happen. You can go to rgclarksville.com. You can go to the website. We have an app. Go through and check us out. Look at us on Facebook and Instagram. You'll see actually any one of us on there and some other people. So you can find someone who looks like you, resembles you, or give you a reason to come and train. Other thing I will say, kind of in closing, was great. We went up, down, covered some serious stuff, but that is life, and life is jiu-jitsu. Problem solving, everything we said. Sometimes you need to take a minute to breathe, think your way through. such is life, right? There's no problem you can't dissect. And then if you have a problem that's too big, you go and refer to a coach or a friend, all right? So kind of if you keep that in mind, won't say to make things easier, but it will give you coping mechanisms, right? And that's what we need in life. We need to be able to cope, right? Everybody's like, life should be easy. Life is not easy, nor is it fair, nor was it ever intended to be. But God, being who God is, gave us mechanisms to deal with life and to make things better. This is one of them. We hope you choose it and you can enjoy it. All right? Thank you guys for joining in.